Here's a bit of truth. Strasbourg should be sitting comfortably in the top European cities everyone raves about list, right next to Prague, Bruges, Vienna, but for some reason it isn't. And maybe that's a good thing, because this city turned out to be such a pleasant surprise. Strasbourg is one of Europe's most underrated gems, criminally underrated I might add. Hiding in plain sight between France and Germany, quietly being far more interesting than anyone gives it credit for. Anyone walking in and expecting something pretty will instead get this layered, culturally tangled city where everything, the architecture, the food, the culture, even the attitude, feels like the best of two worlds blended into something entirely internal. A bit of French, a bit of German, and being entirely, pleasantly a mix of both. And then, before you know it, December shows up, and Strasbourg literally sparkles, truly earning its title as France's capital of Christmas. We visited this part of France last Christmas to experience Strasbourg at the height of the festive season. For some reason, I expected Christmas in Strasbourg to be loud and over the top, but this feels like a city that wears its personality proudly. The markets feel authentic, the lights feel intentional, and the cathedral just stands there being spectacular without even saying a word. Nothing feels staged. It feels like a city that's been doing Christmas properly for centuries and doesn't need to prove anything. The city itself is sumptuously alluring. I immediately loved Strasbourg at first sight. It's a grand, captivatingly historic city with lots and lots of heritage, with a gently flowing river that runs around it. Take a boat ride at the Batorama to experience Strasbourg from its canals and waterways, running around the river Ill that flows around the historic center of Strasbourg, a river that's connected to the Rhine. We found that this boat journey around the Grand Ile was a necessity, helping us learn about Strasbourg as a city, how it's been shaped throughout centuries, how this has been a result of a centuries tug of war between France and Germany. Both cultural influences throughout time has created a unique Alsatian identity. As they say, not quite French and not quite German, but something beautifully in between. The result is palpable in its architecture, customs, food, and even dialect. We had an unparalleled view of the city from the river, observing incredibly charming timbered houses, landmarks, and the covered bridges, these 14th century fortified tower bridges that helped secure the independence of Strasbourg Republic. We even get to see the European Parliament, Strasbourg being the official seat of the European government, from a city that's been the bridge between two worlds to a symbol of European unity. Elsewhere, Strasbourg is even more deeply fascinating. This is an immensely walkable city. In fact, most of its charms can be found on foot. The Grand Ile, that is the island in which the historic center of Strasbourg sits on, was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988, and it's a real charmer. Its medieval backstreets like the picturesque neighborhood Petite, giving an atmospheric feel of the city's soul. We loved strolling here. Another pleasure to be had is walking along the riverbanks and the bridges and walkways that crisscross along canals and waterways, making it a really scenic walk in this ancient part of Strasbourg. But Strasbourg's pièce de résistance is the historic heart of the Grand Ile, where a historic landmark stands like a magnificent behemoth that stands proud and tall on the city's skyline, the Notre-Dame Cathedral of Strasbourg. What used to be a 10th century Romanesque church was transformed into an astonishing work of pure Gothic marvel. It's considered one of the most breathtaking Gothic cathedrals in the world. And what's even more unique, it's built from pink sandstone, giving it a distinct look, its facade being called a giant lacework of stone carvings. This cathedral has survived wars, revolutions, and World War II bombings, so it's even more astounding that we have this completely preserved today. Next to the cathedral, we visited Palais Rohan, an 18th century episcopal palace built for the Prince of Bishops of Strasbourg, containing some of the finest French Baroque in the whole of Alsace. This palace now houses 3 prestigious museums: the Decorative Arts, the Fine Arts, and the Archaeological Museum. In the Fine Arts Museum, you'll find paintings by European masters Rubens, Botticelli, Goya, and Delacroix. Afterwards, we walked around the side streets and ended up in the beautiful Rue de Fèvre, where we took a break for lunch at the restaurant and Wienstube, or wine lounge, sans Sépulcre, offering traditional Alsatian flavors and, of course, fantastic Alsatian wines. We went for a trilogy of local cheeses and carved meat, a side dish of spätzle, and a rich game stew of venison. For dessert, we decided to venture out to try a Strasbourg institution at Pâtisserie, where the cakes are simply heavenly. This artisanal pastry shop is a pure Alsatian creation, where its maker created Maison Christian in 1962. We tasted 2 of their cakes, and I doubt we'll find greater pleasures in life. But speaking of pleasures to be had, we were here in Strasbourg to also experience and soak up the Christmas atmosphere in this vibrant city. Let it be known that Strasbourg holds the title of the capital of Christmas in all of France, and the market Christkindlesmarkt, spread across the historic centre of Strasbourg, is the oldest in the country and some of the most famous in Europe. So it's no surprise that the decorations here are astounding. Walk from Place du Marché au Cochon de Lait to Rue de Marocain, and you'll see traditional timbered houses festooned with the most adorable Christmas adornments. But truly the city's real surprise is at nighttime, when Strasbourg reveals its greatest spectacle, a beautifully illuminated city of Christmas. Strasbourg definitely earns the title as the capital of Christmas. The city sparkles in ways we'd never imagined, so stunningly captivating that we walked around here in awe of these illuminations. In Place de la Cathedral, the square is lit up so wonderfully, the Notre-Dame a vision of ethereal luminosity. Wait until you walk through Rue de Mercier to see a divine vantage point of the cathedral. We walked around Place Gutenberg so we could see it all lit up. We also went back through the famous Rue de Riquewihr, which looks even more stunning at night, with incredible facades that will plunge you right away into Christmas spirit. In Place Kléber, you'll find one of the Strasbourg's major Christmas markets, with over 300 chalets of food, decorations, crafted ornaments, and delightful treats to make you giddy with excitement. And at the far end stands one of the tallest Christmas trees in Europe, over 30 meters tall and decorated to a pure spectacle, all shining, shimmering, and splendid, as it attracts people to gather around to witness a light show performance to the tune of glorious festive music. From the very busy squares, we also walk through quieter streets, through Rue de Marocain that looks straight out of a Christmas fairy tale. We adored walking around Strasbourg at night, the Christmas light putting us in such a festive mood, and even had a chance to stop by at a fantastic wine bar, l'Alsace du Bois, for a celebratory glass of Alsace wine to celebrate our last night at Strasbourg. We went back to Place Kléber much late in the evening, and on a Sunday night it feels much calmer, and we got to enjoy a serenely beautiful harmony of light and music in front of this amazingly lit up Christmas tree. And since we're in the Alsace region, an hour's drive away from Strasbourg is this tiny, fairy tale-like medieval village that's one of the most beautiful in France. This place is a must visit, especially in the Christmas season, when the whole place is decorated like a storybook Christmas village. I've heard so much about Riquewihr, and seeing this place in real life is truly heart-stoppingly beautiful. If you've seen the 1991 animated film Beauty and the Beast, Disney studios drew inspiration from real French villages, and Riquewihr is one of them. A bona fide medieval gem in the truest sense of word. And even though we came here on a Saturday, which felt like the whole Alsatian region descended in this village, we managed to enjoy and be in awe of the whole place, with every street, corner and building dressed up for the Christmas season. It's no competition, and the Germans were incredible with their decorations, but the French were absolutely putting on their Christmas A-game on. Riquewihr looks, feels and breathes like a Christmas village. Riquewihr has a unique French and German influence, having been ruled by the Counts of Württemberg until the 17th century, and despite the turmoils of war throughout time, this precious medieval village miraculously survived. Its original 16th century half-timbered buildings look like stunning time capsules. You can literally feel the Christmas spirit here, even just by walking around in its little streets and alleyways. Since this is the Alsace region, famed for exquisite wines, famous for the Riesling and Gewürztraminer, we stopped at the rustic bar Hôtel de la Couronne to sample some Alsatian wines, a dry Riesling and a lovely Pinot Noir, to remind ourselves that Riquewihr once flourished due to the wine trade, being surrounded by plains full of vineyards. We then headed off to explore the Christmas markets and shops. Just each and every nook and cranny in this village is crammed with absolute delight. Before heading to our lunch at the restaurant Caveau de Roi, where a traditional Alsatian menu awaits for us. A big pork knuckle, sausages and sauerkraut, as well as a great helping of a black forest cake. Both Strasbourg and Riquewihr left me with that rare kind of feeling you can't manufacture. The quiet certainty that you've just witnessed something genuinely special. One city glowing with centuries of history and Christmas magic, the other a tiny medieval dream wrapped in lights and old world charm. Two very different places, yet both carrying the same message. Slow down, look closer, and let yourself be surprised. Because Christmas in Strasbourg and Riquewihr isn't about grand gestures, it's about atmosphere. It's in the way the lights feel timeless, and how these places remind you of what the season is meant to feel like. Warm, human, and making this world just a little bit more magical.